New videos every day.
Hello, I haven't done a video in a while. I'm Joseph Stickland, an applied clinical nutritionist here in Austin, Texas. And today I'm going to help you figure out something that I do on a daily basis. And that is, how do you sort out real nutrition information from false nutrition information? There's so much data out there that seems to conflict. This guy says one thing and this guy says another. So how do you sort through the bad stuff from the good stuff? So as someone in the field, I ask myself this question every day and every time I read something new in nutrition. Where is this information coming from? Is it true? Is it not true? And part of what my job is as a nutritionist is to sort out this information so that I can give information to clients and patients that will help them better their lives. And really the true nutrition information is the nutrition information that you can take, you can give to somebody, they can use it, and it will affect their life for the better. And sorting out what does that and what doesn't can be tricky. And there's false information. False information is sensationalized information used for profit making or to kind of sort out a way to sell papers. Right? Now, this information can come from a lot of different sources. It can come from scientific studies that are paid for by specific institutions that want to prove a certain thing. So, for instance, let's say Coffee Bean Company A wants to tell you and sell you coffee, so they have a study show that caffeine increases alertness. And they do a study, and it does show that caffeine increases alertness. But what they don't tell you is that, or they ignore the fact that it also hurts the pancreas or it hurts the liver or something like that. They just leave that part out of the study, or they don't study that part. They just look at it from the perspective of, does it increase alertness? The other area that false information can come from is actually old college textbooks. The science is changing every day. With every new science study there is, information goes very quickly. So you can actually have old information that still gets passed around. For the instance, the idea that eggs are bad for cholesterol. This is something that there was a study done in the 80s, and there have been a lot of studies that show that that actually isn't true. So those are some examples, and I'm going to go over some more. One area of misinformation are ADVtorials. And that's a big word. What does it mean? Well, ADVtorials, I'm sure you've seen before, and those are feature-length articles in magazines and newspapers that are made to look like a news article. But what they actually are is targeted advertising that's designed to sell you a certain product. An example of this is certain energy drinks that say, oh, wow, it's got so many antioxidants in it. But when you really look at the product, yes, it does have antioxidants. That's one component of it. But the rest of it, it's like fruit punch. So you're drinking fruit punch type drink with some added antioxidants. And whether or not that's good for you, I'm not really going to argue. But that is just a source where you can get some information that could be false or misleading. The other area of false information can come from infomercials. Not all infomercials are bad. There are some that are okay, but it can be misleading. You have somebody who's got slanted information to sell you a certain product. And for instance, if there's one, take Colon Blow 3000 and it will make you digest all your food better. You'll get rid of all your cancers, and this and that. If it sounds too good to be true, then most likely it is. In some cases it's not, but I would at least find somebody who's done that, that's really done that program and it's done that for them. Because you can't just believe it necessarily. I would look at that very, with an eye of uncertainty as to whether or not that's true. But infomercials are a place where bad information can come from. Another area where false information can come from is with certain situations where people don't have credentials at all. In fact, a good example of this is I had a friend one time that was trying to get accident victims to go to get treatment for physical therapy. And he named this business Your Assurance Company, which sounds a lot like your insurance company. And so when you call someone and tell them, well, you've been in an accident, you need to get care, it actually was very misleading. And so sometimes there are certain situations where people will use certain titles, like Nutritionist, for example, is a good example as well, in order to kind of trick you, because in certain states there are no license requirements. That's true in the state of Texas, for instance. So you want to make sure that the person at least has some sort of schooling in the area, has credentials, has been to school, or has been through some program where they actually have learned the basics in nutrition. And even then, you want to look at where they got their information, because if the school's not up to date, it can be old, or in some cases through vested interests. So that's some information on where to get false information, or kind of where false information can come from. So now that we've established where false information can come from, it's important to figure out how you can sort it out, because that's really the hard part, is sorting it out. One of the main things I can tell you on sorting it out is to trust yourself. For instance, if you're told to eat more fruits and vegetables, and you eat them and you feel better, in general, that's what happens. You know that that's true for you. Also, if somebody tells you to go out and have apple pie every day for lunch, that's all you need, or all you need is a grapefruit diet, and you just eat grapefruits all the time and survive on that, try it out and you'll see if you feel bad with it, then most likely there's something off about it. Sometimes you can have a situation where you change your diet and you have kind of a detox effect, so you feel bad for a couple of days and then you feel better. So there might be some situations where you will have a temporary worsening, but if that's the case, you generally will be told that. So you really want to look at how you feel with the information that you've gotten. Another way to sort it out is to find out where the information comes from. For instance, like I said in false information, if a company has paid for a study, then it's hard to necessarily trust that as a legitimate source, because they have a vested interest in showing you that that's the way it is. A good example of this is a study that was done on caffeine and its effect versus a nap. Now, the study was very true, because it just basically showed that sleeping was better for remembering or memory than a stimulant or caffeine. And that's, I agree with that study. But if you looked at who positioned the study, it was the Mental Health Organization. And at the end of the study, the reason it was enacted was to show drugs that help the person sleep are more important than stimulants. So the actual purpose of that study, while it might have seemed like it was to show you that you wanted to get a good night's rest and things like that, that actually wasn't the purpose of the study. The purpose of the study was to sell more research of drugs helping people sleep. So you really want to look at where the study is commissioned from and what organization is behind it. The other thing you want to ask yourself is, does the information seem logical? For instance, does it have sound reasoning? Last week there was an article that showed that high fructose corn syrup is tainted with mercury. I was appalled. Oh my God. And when I looked into it, I looked at the source. It was a major newspaper. I looked at the study. Oh my God, it was true. high fructose corn syrup has traces of mercury in it due to processing. You can look it up. So it's where it comes from, but also, does it make sense? You can see a correlation between the increase in high fructose corn syrup and the increase in weight in people in the United States. It's in a lot of different things. Okay, you can also see that various diseases have increased and things like that, so it lends credibility to it. It makes sense. So not everything that makes sense is true, but usually something that is true does make sense. So that can help you in your search for truth. One of the other things that's very good about knowing whether or not something is true is using it clinically. Now, I know I have that luxury because I have a practice and I see people and I work with people daily, day in and day out on their diets. So I can actually look at something and then try it out on somebody and then see that it works. That's why they call it practice, right? I can also, work with myself. So that's clinical. That's clinical experience. But even though you don't necessarily have a clinic, you can find a nutritionist or a chiropractor or a medical doctor or a dietitian or somebody that is grounded in this material and ask them, and find out from them clinically what they experience with a certain thing. So hopefully that gives you some information on how to sort nutrition out. It can be tough, I understand, because there's so many different studies commissioned, there's so many people that have opinions on it and things like that. But ultimately, trust your gut and look at it objectively. Where does this information come from? What is the point of this information? Does this actually help me, or is it designed just to sell a product? And does it have anything that backs it up? Is there something that shows that this is a reliable source? Does it have things that make sense with why it is that way? So hopefully that helps you sort it out. And the next thing I'm going to talk about are just tried and true things that I don't necessarily think will change as far as nutrition goes. There are certain stable points to nutrition, things that seem to not change over time. And one of the ideas that stays the same is the idea of whole foods. For instance, you've heard the saying, you are what you eat. That's been around for a long time, and I don't think we're going to find out that you're not what you eat. For instance, you are what you eat. And as a result of that, you want whole foods, foods that these bodies that we're in, that we use day in and day out, just like we use cars, they have used food since the beginning. So food will continue to be a source, whole food will continue to be a source to continue our body line. So just know that whole food makes sense. Another thing that I don't think is going to change is the idea of sugar. It's a white crystalline substance that's extracted from a plant that alters mood, makes a person need more of it. It alters blood chemistry. It alters the chemicals in your body. It's a drug. Cocaine is the same way. It's a white crystalline substance that's extracted from a plant that changes blood chemistry and the chemicals in the body and affects mood. So the fact that sugar is bad for you is very well documented. I'm going to attach a link to this, 146 Ways That Sugar Ruins Your Health. It's by Nancy Appleton. She's got a PhD in nutrition. She writes a book called Lick the Sugar Habit. And sugar, in more ways than you can imagine, just destroys your health. And as a nutritionist, that's one thing that I'm working with day in and day out. I'm working with people that are physically addicted to sugar. And if you know that going into this and sorting out nutrition from that perspective, that is something that can really help you. Knowing whole foods and that sugar is not a whole food. It's a very refined food. You take sugar cane and you extract this white crystalline substance from it. It's not good for you. And for that same reason, many refined foods are not as good as the whole food form. For instance, breakfast cereals and things like this, where they extract the nutrients from it and then put in other nutrients into it. You know, they're not great for you for that reason. And so refined foods in general are things you want to stay away from. You want to go with whole foods, fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, fresh, organic, nice, natural meats with no hormones and antibiotics and things like that added to them. Those things will stand the test of time in nutrition. The other thing that really makes a lot of sense in regards with nutrition is diet and exercise. If you have a certain drug or supplement even that purports to take the place of diet and exercise, oh, just take this and you'll lose weight. You don't even have to do anything else. There's got to be something wrong with that, because essentially you are what you eat, and exercise is what tells your body to firm up, to tone, and things like this. So that's also a big component to nutrition, is diet and exercise. So when you take a look at the whole foods, less refined foods, and diet and exercise, and you put that into a package, those are things that will generally guide you in the field of nutrition and help you sort out, you know, what's true from what's not true. So now I'm going to give you some trusted sources. These are different foundations, different websites that I found they're very good, very true. They have a lot of great information on them. They've stood the test of time. And if you Google the Price Pottinger Foundation, that's a great, he did a study called the Pottinger Cat Study. You can read up on it. It's fantastic. And also the Weston A. Price Foundation. These are guys that believe in whole foods, that believe in non-refined, changed foods. And so these are great sources of information. I want to thank you for viewing this video and also for continuing to watch the videos on this channel. We work really hard to give you really good information. If there's anything you're wanting us to do a video on, just leave a comment in the section. If you have any comments about this video, feel free to leave them there. Also, check out my website. It's www.nutritionaustin.com. I really enjoy doing this work and sorting this stuff out for you. So if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email. I've got a new email address. It's joe@nutritionaustin.com. You can find it on my website. I'm updating it. My old one's on there right now. But I look forward to hearing from you and continuing to do these videos for you. I'm going to be doing them a little more regularly. So go ahead and rate this video, leave some comments, and have a great day.
If you liked this video, we have hundreds of more alternative videos ranging from sexual health to psychology to mind control. So if you liked it, go ahead and click on me to enter the Psychetruth channel.